Morning, good afternoon, good evening. Let me state for the record, Emerson, Tambuzo Mnangagwa rigged the 2023 elections. SADC and the AU election observers condemned the 2023 elections as flawed and illegal. For the last, in fact, since the 2023 election, the nation has been engaged in this endless debate because Mnangagwa was pushing to extend his illegitimacy beyond the 2028 when his term was due to end. He wanted to amend the Constitution to give himself 2 more years. The argument was he and only he can deliver Vision 2030. And Vision 2030 says that Zimbabwe will be an upper middle income nation. It is nonsense, of course. He has been in power since taking over in 2017, now getting on to 8 years. If anything at all, Zimbabwe's economy is worse now than in 2017. Corruption and looting have gone into overdrive. So the whole point of he wanted 2 more years was just pathetic. It's just another feeble excuse for him to stay in power so he could continue looting. But today, he's given a press interview in which he has reaffirmed that he has no desire to stay beyond 2028. Let's just listen to what he had to say.
I need a bit of help here to understand you clearly. I know the whole country needs you to pronounce yourself clearly. You have said and you've restated this point that you will leave when your term ends, or you know when you will leave, the day and time. But like my colleague here said, there's still a lot of confusion. There's the 2030, people were saying you should extend your term to 2030. Can you state and pronounce your position clearly for the whole nation, for the international community, for us, so that when we write our stories, we have the proper information? What is your opinion? When are you leaving, sir?
In fact, you are putting it very clear. Very clear. That I have 2 terms, and these terms are very definite. And I'm so democratic. When they come to an end, I'll step aside and my party will elect my successor. That is as clear as day. Those who have other imaginations, it is a democratic society for people to dream. But facts will take day.
Well, I think most people would be glad to hear that and get that clarified, because this has been going on for the last 2 years now. Why he wanted to extend his term of office beggars belief. But it is important that the people of Zimbabwe should now focus on the real big issue here. Stopping this case of rigged elections. This is at the heart of the challenge before us. Mnangagwa rigged 2023 elections. And he only got away with it because Nelson Chamisa and his supporters participated in the flawed process in their millions. That point cannot be denied, nor can it be downplayed. This has been at the heart of our problems, political problems in Zimbabwe. We all know that the election process is flawed. We all know that ZANU-PF has been rigging the elections. And yet the opposition is again and again participated in those flawed elections. What I'm showing you at the bottom of the screen is a quotation from David Coulthard's book talking about the 2023 elections. He admitted the process was so flawed, so illegal, that the only logical step was to withdraw. But he admits that he could not withdraw because MDCN, which he belonged to, could not trust their main opposition challenger, MDCT, guys to withdraw. And so they both, in the end, participated. They also knew that by participating, they are giving the process political credibility and therefore legitimacy. This has happened again and again since the GNU of 2008 to 2018. In fact, if the truth be told, this explains why MDC leaders failed to implement even one token reform during the GNU when they had the golden opportunity to do so. Greed. The tragedy is the people of Zimbabwe themselves have been slow to realize what is going on here. And hence the reason why the country has found itself stuck in this untenable situation where we keep participating in a flawed electoral process, only to give vote rigging ZANU-PF legitimacy and perpetuate the people's own suffering. Now that we know Mnangagwa is shelved, the issue of trying to amend the Constitution, we now must focus on 2028. We know that without any reforms implemented, ZANU-PF will rig those elections just as readily as they rigged the 2023 elections. I think this time we have got the added advantage that the referees in these elections, SADC and the AU have condemned Zimbabwe's election process. And they put it on record that those elections are flawed. So it is now up to us to push for reforms, to make sure we do not keep repeating the same mistake. In other words, there is really no excuse why Zimbabweans should participate in the 2028 elections if ZANU-PF does not implement the democratic reforms to address the issues raised by SADC and the AU. In the SADC Election Observer Mission report, their conclusion is very clear. The process is flawed. The process failed to meet Zimbabwe's own constitutional requirements and failed to meet SADC's own principles and guidelines on democratic elections. If we participate in those 2028 elections with no reforms, then SADC will have no choice but to grant ZANU-PF legitimacy. The real big danger here is that Chamisa will con his followers to participate. He conned them before. I believe he'll con them again. The challenge is to make sure that at least he doesn't con millions of these Chamisa Chete brigade to participate in these flawed elections. Why the opposition supporters are so naive, ignorant, and gullible is one of the challenges we have got to admit. They are incredibly naive and very gullible. One of the biggest issues some of us have had was to get these people to admit that Chamisa lied to them. Even with the benefit of hindsight, some people still refuse to accept that Chamisa lied to them. But this point must be hammered home. Here is Chamisa talking about he was forming the next cabinet.
Makorokoto Zimbabwe nokuti hakuna munhu anomira kana denga raronga plan. Denga raronga plan, denga harifoiri. Plan ya Mwari haifoiri. Ini ndatanga kugadzira cabinet. There is no way we are not going to form a new cabinet. There is no way we are not going to have a celebration. There is no way we are not going to have an inauguration. Let's start preparing for our inauguration. Let's start preparing for our celebration.
Of course, Chamisa was lying. He told his followers that he had plugged all the vote-rigging loopholes, when it was abundantly clear that he had not done any such thing. Tim Pachedu had reported that Zimbabwe's voters' roll was in shambles. This is months before the elections themselves were due to take place. So he knew that the voters' roll was in shambles. But he wanted to pretend. But he had fixed that. As we know, that was a lie. As we've seen with SADC in the AU reports, they could see that the voters' roll was in shambles. The Electoral Act said that there should be a verified voters' roll at least one calendar month before voting day. Chamisa and company submitted their nominations, knowing fully well that there was no verified voters' roll. This is the one occasion where somebody took Chamisa to task about his lying. And this is a BBC reporter.
Ende patakasangana na Trump akatibvunza naye akomana mari yamuri kuda kuti nyika ifambe imari.
Serious questions were raised about your behaviour in Washington, D.C. You did see some senior people on Capitol Hill, some Congress people, but you also claimed that you'd seen Donald Trump. You claimed you had a conversation with him in which you said he asked you how much you needed to move the country forward. You told him $15 billion, and he said to you that he would provide the money if you won the election. That was not true, was it?
Sangana na Trump akatibvunza naye akomana.
It was not true that you'd seen Donald Trump and that Donald Trump indicated to you that he would provide, if you won the election,
but
$15 billion.
All those statements were said by other people, not what I said.
Well, no, because there is a video which shows you at a rally in January back home in Zimbabwe saying that Donald Trump had pretty much promised you $15 billion. To be clear, because some people in Zimbabwe are still confused, you're now telling me you did not meet Donald Trump.
We did not.
Well, the truth of the matter is Chamisa lied. He lied about plugging the vote rigging loopholes. He lied about winning the elections. And only to con people to participate in the flawed elections. The number one challenge now is to make sure that we do not make the same mistake and participate in a flawed 2028 elections to give ZANU-PF legitimacy. Now that Mnangagwa has, thank God, confirmed that he has dropped his ambition to extend his illegitimate mandate to 2030. We can now focus on the big issue of ensuring 2028 elections are not rigged. That is the challenge before us. And I think it's a challenge that we must resolve. After 45 years of rigged elections, we should have the common sense to finally deal with this elephant in the room, the curse of rigged elections and bad governance. Food for thought. Thank you very much, those who were able to join. Hope you'll be able to join us again at 6 UK time, 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time. Have a good day.